Okay, here we go. Good morning, everybody. We are here at CreateAWorld, and thank you for joining us, all of you. So, for those of you who might be new to our broadcast, CreateAWorld is a platform for just talking about the different aspects of life that rise that we're seeing as part of creating worlds, and particularly creating worlds within certain principles that are life enhancing, principles of harmony, beauty, balance, mutuality. And mutuality doesn't mean the same, the sameness, but what I call with another in the field. And um, it's very important to those of us from the field of Tantra Mat, which is a global community, very diverse, by the way, of people who are exploring just exactly that and what that means for them and the expressions in their communities and in their lives. So today, what we're going to do is continue. Let's see, I think it was two Fridays ago, two broadcasts ago, we started talking about empathy and empathic response. And we started basing it on what Tantra Mat wrote. Tantra, who's the founder of this, the field of Tantra Mat. And the field of Tantra Mat doesn't refer to her personally, it refers to the qualities of harmony, beauty, balance, um, and other life enhancing generative principles. So we started because there's a really great conversation she wrote about in her book, You as the Mind of Creation. And that's not a plug, that's just where we got the material from, that started to presence empathy and empathic response beyond where I remember first really. I mean, I'd always heard the word empathy, that's part of a word from the English language, but in the late 80s and 90s, when we formed our first community called Sanctuary back in the DC area, um, a lot of people had been having their private experience with empathy. And because it was different than just like a lot of people would confuse empathy and sympathy, probably still do, but whatever. And they were discovering how much that meant shared field, shared space. And so you may have heard of it as like feeling another person's feelings and not being quite sure where the boundary is. And there was a lot of engagement on how to uh, be an empath without being overtaken and how to have that skill so be a valuable part of their lives. Or yeah, I'll just leave it there. But that was, and at the time we all thought that was like a really high expression, and it is in its own way. But what we started 2 weeks ago, we are taking it to a whole other place. Um, so we're using the not definitions like carved in stone, but the reference point kind of definitions. Empathy is the reflection of creation in all of its forms, a reflection being the glue of existence. Empathic response is a fundamental connective response of this reflection within all of creation. They're distinct and yet connected. Anything you want to add to that, Kristen, before I go
Yeah, so much. So as
Well,
one of the beautiful things about what I love that, we do here on CreateAWorld, but you guys largely do. And I'm thankful to be a guest here today, with you,
and
Deb.
and I'm sorry, people. I forgot to introduce Kristen. She's been joined us a few times, and I apologize, Kristen, for not introducing you. But Kristen's just one of our beloved community members, and she runs uh, a company called Enjoy Chi and is the founder of Stop and Flow, which I may refer to, or you might even. But there you go. That's a starting point.
Thank you. Yeah, no apology needed. I'm like, it's interesting as you started talking, and what I love about these conversations
Yeah.
is that in its authentic way, it's conversations in flow. It's create a world, right? It's we're creating a world in the conversation, and just in listening to you bring language and grapple to kind of get us going here, which I thank you because it's hard to go like get that warm up going, right? It's like, oh, here we are. It felt warm. Like I got this warm sense. And I'm also present to the word reflection in that definitional. And as you were just bringing to language some of what we've been talking about in our world here in CreateAWorld and probably another, I suspect everywhere in
Yeah.
our worlds it's rising. It's rising. It's exciting. There's a warmth to it. And especially on a cold November day where I'm sitting on a day after probably too much sugar and too much, too much taking part in some, anywho, I started getting this, like, you brought me into a remembrance actually of, and I didn't, we don't know where things are going to go until they start going there. But as you were talking, I was remembering kind of coming home from school and, I'd have my books from the day and all of the things that I was getting information from my day as a little kid. And I'd come home and sometimes I'd end up around a table. And I was around a table. I was blessed to be around a table of women a lot of times in my young years, my aunt's table, my mother's table, and they'd be chit chatting and kind of unpacking their day and waiting for us to come home. And I don't know that I didn't expect that was where this was going to go, but the empathic response that stirs in me is just when you grabbed Tantra's book, right? And you said, like, we got some information here and we've been kind of talking about empathic response. The aunties, the archetype of aunties has been something that's been swirling. And we talked about that just a few weeks back, you and I, when we were discussing getting together to do this today. And it's no coincidence that it happens to be the day after a huge day of remembrance in our country and in our world. The good, the bad, the right, the wrong, the indifferent. It's like you said, the mutual of
Hmm.
what it is to put thanks and giving together and make it new in this year and in this beautiful moment. So I want to honor that that's the day that we ended up being here today on, the day after, really being in an empathic response of what it means to be around a table or to be excluded from a table or to be, remembering a table in the sense that that's what came through. Um, the word reflection, as I reflect on, gosh, I mean, just like so much is coming in right now. Let me take a moment. So as I reflect and something that was meaningful for me that you said in the reflection yesterday, we were talking about um, the ocean of when we think we don't really know who we are, and then we look outside of ourselves. And it was a conversation I was having with my mother actually, through a card reading we were doing. We look at the ocean. We look at that ocean, and if that ocean is muddied, then that's all that we get back, right? And so I'm really, really lovely, like how you said, I'm loving the word reflection. And in a new day today and a new empathic response, I'm just present to the warmth of what is to come. So I don't know. I'm struggling for language. That's part of what we talked about too. Like sometimes I'm experiencing these moments of complete clarity, like where it's just like, I don't actually have the words to describe how beautiful it is,
Yeah.
or or sometimes how not so beautiful it is, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think that's part of what we're trying to get access to, or some of us are at least, just that way to put into language what is so moving within us, like our bodies and our emotions and our vessels, these containers. They're so much a table, It's
Yeah.
like it feels like it's rolling off. Like it's just like ah. So yeah, I don't know. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for what you said. And I think we just what do you what pings you to talk about more from what anything I've said, anything that you're hearing that you want to take it in a direction?
Well, let's see how the thread goes with reflection.
Yeah.
Because today, folks, I expect to be very gangly and not polished today. Because I was looking at what are some examples of empathy and empathic response in my daily life. And I think the background of that is what's rising very fast that I'm present to in the world at large is we're having to find ways to be connected. No, excuse me, to recognize and move with the connection that's already there.
Yeah.
I,
To remember the connection.
yes,
That's to re-dash member that connection is what I hear. Yeah.
yes. I think so. What part of why I told the story of the 80s and 90s is that for me, I'm present to a recursion that at that time, which was what, 35 years ago or something, that was a that was as mature as we got. And I'm not minimizing or dissing it at all, that relationship to empathy. I'm saying I'm present to a maturing and that, but of course, there would be people more attuned to another's feelings and have that skill and talent because we're all interconnected. And I'm hearing that more and more and more and more. But for those of us me, who's not indigenous, and and as I understand it and imagine it, indigenous people, that's part of their life, period. There's no separation between them and other people and you know, the trees and animals and air and everything as their relatives. They are related. And English doesn't do it justice as I understand it. So to talk about empathic response this way brings present or makes me have to really grapple with what have I not noticed yet? What am I attuning to? And what does it look like? So, before when we get ready for the broadcast, we chat beforehand, and each one of us had had a dream. And mine seemed really ordinary, but I don't think it was. And you had a dream, Kristen. Tantra had a dream. Tantra, thank heavens, is running the board for us. And each one of them had connections to people or aspects of life that are way beyond a present moment, weaving in, for me, mine was weaving in elements of a past, present, future, where I think some aspects of relationship were getting repaired. And but it seems so ordinary, but it wasn't. I don't know, it was weird. And I don't want to launch into telling the whole dream. And I actually, in getting ready for this call, I started writing some things down. So what are some, and interestingly enough, I wrote external indications of empathic response. To me, that shows me right there how unattuned I am still with empathic response as, uh, I don't know, what are the words, Kristen?
Well, I see the ocean again. I think there's, I don't know. I see the ocean again. I hear the ocean. I hear the ocean again. And that's both inside and outside of us, right? It's everywhere. We're in the ocean, like swimming. So it's like, yeah, like, I don't know, like help me make sense of this. Like, yeah, it's all of it. But coming back to that dream, I'm curious, and to the 80s, like all of this. It's so if we place it in the evidence of like nonlinear time, I think something is happening. I think we clearly sense. We may not know for, you know, to the pinpoint what's, but something we sense something larger than us is here happening. It always has been, by the way. And then we have these dreams. So I'm curious, like you were saying about your dream, I had a dream, Tantra dream, we all dream. I'm wondering if the people listening, like if you had a dream, let us know in the chat.
Yeah.
Like, please let us know. Like, maybe you had a dream, maybe you don't, maybe just remembered you had a dream. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know that. And also, just let us know you're here. Because we're swimming in this. We're really in the sense that there's something happening. And, you bring up the knowing connection that Indigenous peoples do have. Part of what I woke up into this morning was like, wow, my life experience in this body that you see, this moment is vastly different than some of the remembrances of the not so friendly day that maybe was for others this time frame. So it's like this both and that I think we're swimming in. It's like as soon as there's um it's like getting comfortable in our own skin again. It feels like for me.
Yeah, I could,
Like
yeah.
you get that's like I guess that's the language I have for it, but I feel like and each of us uniquely like getting okay with being okay with getting comfortable in our own skin. Like um while there's an ocean swimming around us and within us, right? And I think that's part of what getting into the reflection of it. Like, how can I reflect upon what is creation reflecting upon me and me reflecting upon myself and be with all of it and be with others, right? Uh, be with family, be with friends, be with everybody else's oceans and oceans and oceans and oceans, right? And at the end of the day, it's all just one. Like you say, the 80s were now, then like now is the 80s. Like we are creating sanctuary in every moment that we can be together and grapple for our dream, like the original dream that each of us has. I don't know. I woke up thankful today. I woke up empathically tugged to the people who and the plants and the planet and the world that is sorting and sifting and shifting.
Yeah.
Right? Things are coming and going, and English doesn't do it justice. Like
No.
there's part of me that just wants to beat a drum. I've got a rock in my hand. I'm like, oh, it's just like part of me. I actually saw the Moana movie. Um
Oh,
I thought that's just something that I thought I'd share. Like that was the ancestors, the grandmother. I don't want to ruin anything for anybody that hasn't seen it. Spoiler alert, but we're always here, just in a different form. And I just feel the presence of so much that is hard for me in an English language, even any language probably that comes out of the mouth to get out clearly to say how exciting and how hopeful it can be and feel in this time, as well as freaking scary. Like, not gonna lie.
it really is because like just thinking about the dream I had, and it was like, I don't know, shortly like waking up interrupted the dream. I'll never
Yeah.
know if it would have continued, but it really was a weaving of past, present, future, and symbolisms. And when I wrote down on my, because I always do, I take some notes to help me remember what I wanted to present. And if I never get there, then that's fine. And if I, it helps, if I want to have help remembering, then it's right there. But I wrote external, like separate. And I think listening to you, I think we do not yet, or I don't yet fully get creation needs me and loves me and the words fail me. But the
Creation
creation,
reflects upon itself.
what?
Like remember the creation
Yes,
reflects upon itself
that's
in
exactly what I was just
in
about to say. Interesting. The, the that we're humans are an expression of creation reflecting on itself, and what I call creation is an expression of me, and it's hard to get to.
but
But let
reflecting
me
upon it.
go ahead.
Can I, you just, sorry, I know we don't usually do this. We literally don't usually jump in on each other. We usually do let each other finish each other. But today, I think if you just bear with me, like you just
Yep.
opened up a worm. We were talking a couple weeks ago about like why we were excited to get on this, and I was washing windows. I don't know if you remember that,
Yeah, I remember you
but
were washing windows
like,
and
yeah.
setting
So
up
like
your
it,
office.
yeah, yeah. And we were reflecting, like literally, like we didn't even this world word the reflection capacity here. Like I remember we were talking, and I was doing my whatever the ritual of washing. I was washing the inside of my office windows, and Don was washing the outside windows. And he loves to look out. It's his thing to look out and see the beautiful trees in our backyard in the winter. And we don't, if we, God willing, have a sunny day to see them, he wants to see them. He doesn't want to see that smudge on the out.
Yeah.
And so I think we were talking just about this exact is it's an internal looking out, it's an external looking in, reflecting what is life enhancing upon each of us, right? On each of us uniquely and individually. So and I thought it was kind of interesting that that came back right around to what we because we talked about that, how we were talking about how cleaning an office and how what you were doing that day as well were just they were the rituals that we were, being with another in the field. It's not normal. It's not my normal MO to say yes to clean windows because it's just not on my radar, like in that way. But that day I had capacity. He was like, can you use it? I said, yeah, I'll help. Right. It was just, and it ended up turning my whole office in a different like direction. Remember, we were talking about that. Like everything changes when we reflect upon what is beautiful for us, what is ours, our design. There's a note in the, I think
Yeah.
Tantra may have weighed in. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
pulled
She's
that
got
up.
the
So
exact reading of it.
she
Creation.
put the definition, I mean, not definition, the statement, creation reflects upon itself, gaining knowledge and awareness of itself through its multi-sentient, multi-intelligent, multi-dimensional system, often referred to as human being. Now, if we took even 10 seconds to think about what that means human being is and has available to become, I know I would go on tilt if I really just leaned into that. But as a multi-sentient, multi-intelligent, multi-dimensional being, then hold on, let's see if I can. Then, of course, the phenomenon, like our dreams, I don't want them to be ordinary, but I do. But they wouldn't seem like, whoa, I had this really cool dream, as if it was a surprise or um, not part of my regular existence. So that's what I mean. I'm looking forward to them being part of my regular existence. That's what I mean by ordinary, but I guess I should have said daily life. And in a way, they are. I dream
Wow.
a lot. I have what I call working dreams all the time, which are not necessarily predictive, but sometimes, but they're often symbolic and representational of what's occurring in different aspects of existence. That's a short way. But there's some way I respond to my dreams like, whoa, like it was unusual or unexpected. It's not. It's been part of my nature and visions and sight and intuition. It's been part of my life for my whole life and many other people. So, but I still treat it like it's unexpected, not like talking to you here, Kristen, which it is. It's just a different form. And some of the other things I wrote down, things that we call signs or omens, serendipity, synchronicity, even those random acts of kindness, even breakdowns. Like I've had a whole bunch with my computer lately, and before that, excuse me, with a couple of other areas of life. And I could have gone into life is hard now, life is terrible, which I sort of did from time to time. But mostly I'm seeing if other energies are coming in like maturing of reflection. Let's see, how do I do this? Then on the physical plane, the way things occur on the physical plane in my life, when I've accessed other energies and like saying, I really want this, I'm calling in such and such. Okay, well, then that's an energy that what's already physical, may not be able to hold. So it falls apart as the new forms. That's what I came to. It's often not convenient. I don't always like it. And yes, I'm often I fuss about it, but I I do so less and less. Like even with this, when you and I set this up, Kristen, my computer was running fine. Then some things happened and my computer has not been fine. And I didn't ask Tantra to come on and run the board. I was thinking, literally, I was thinking, should I call Tantra? What? And I was just thinking about it. And she texted me and said, I'm coming on to run the board. Now, how's that? For,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah. I think this is how it's going to go. I mean, this is
yeah,
exactly like the other morning I woke up and um, I was logged out of my Google accounts, both of the accounts, and it was asking for all of this definitely like never seen before stuff like that it needed from me. It, my body, my computer. And and then there it was, and it was there, it was back. And I thought it was like a me problem, like because we think it's a me problem because we're so like oriented towards like, and then I thought, oh gosh, what did I do? Like I must have clicked something wrong somewhere along, like hello. And then that itty bitty shitty committee that I've learned to tone it down. Like, all right, let's just not touch that for a bit and let's let our computer rest for a moment. My VA said to me, and she's in a different country. We happened to connect a few minutes later, and she said, "Oh yeah, that happened to me yesterday." Like,
yeah,
like so the phenomenon of like things coming in and out of existence is not new. We hear it, we know that's how creation moves. But if we look at the reflection upon, getting new knowledge, we're getting a lot of new knowledge. If we think about where we were 1 year ago,
yeah,
and I mean, in linear time, the amount of information that we have access to, the capacity of knowledge coming in that is the collective, and the awareness that that is stoking in the ether, let alone in the physical, like of the fingers and what we're touching and where we're washing window. I mean, all of it and then some is absolutely lending itself to better get okay with multiple pathways of being, and better get clear on our sentient nature, our intelligence, our systems, right? So that we do relate and can step in and out of the flow of what is moving and I don't not even step in and out of the flow, like be with the flow of
Mm-hmm.
what is moving. Something as simple as um, a punctuation mark as we were before we got on. You feel that. I mean, what if we asked ourselves those reflective questions? That's something that I've been really wanting to do today, and I will just get a little reflective. Like what is it that I'm noticing in my body?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do I want as I move forward? I ask that a lot in our groups, and I've never heard anyone say, I want more systems failure. Like, I mean, that they also appreciate when their systems, when they see a system going, develop, that they have a way through. Like, it's like, and in the indigenous, like if we think about all of us being in as one, in like Moana, she's one with the water, she's one with the ancestors. My husband has a oneness with those trees outside. And by the way, they have a oneness with him that
Yes.
needs to get through the glass and needs to be cleaned.
Yeah. So
Right? It's got it. So
sorry.
no, go ahead.
It's not about the windows should be clean. It's not about that. It's about nothing can get in the way of his connection with the trees,
Yeah.
visually or whatever, however that occurs for him. And the same with the Google thing you just described. What if you did push something wrong? If you lived in, I did something wrong, you just shut out all kinds of possibilities of relationship with energies. And it might have just been a Google thing. I've read a couple articles in the news about stuff going on with Google. And so what if it was one part of their system? What if it was some politics thing as they go through changes? What if I said about my computer, I did something wrong? That puts a cap on being with whatever else may be. And I keep having the intuition, actually for about 6 months now, that I should get a new computer. My little
Mhm.
baby here is like 4 years old, which is, and she's heavily used. And that right there, calling her she, and I have a relationship with my computer. And it's different than she's just an object that's an instrument for my benefit,
Mhm.
way
Oh,
beyond.
you just reminded me of I mentioned yesterday something about Ruby. I love my Jeep. I love Ruby. And yesterday I just in conversation was mentioning something about, she's getting rusty. I don't know, and this and that. And I'm not kidding. The entire like 15 people in the room like perked up to defend Ruby. And I had not even said like I might get rid. It's like
Yeah,
so I mean, as we elevate relationships with everything, right down to uh, the most seemingly small things, we invite in the opportunity, I think, for others to relate at a different, unique level
yeah.
with their own reflections, right? And then the other thing that you said, there was something. You said something at. Oh, I had a. All right, so I had the opportunity to interview a dear friend of mine, a colleague who's a recovery professional. Her name's Lisa Ardner. She's doing amazing work for families in recovery. Embracing Families is one of the names of the programs that she's running. But I was interviewing her for the podcast that I'm creating. We'll probably start by the end of the year. But something came back to me as soon as you were talking. She said, "Don't quit. Tomorrow needs you. Don't quit. Tomorrow needs you." So even if like we touched something wrong on the computer, well, maybe it was right in that. Like, what if our phrase it right?
Exactly.
Right is wrong, wrong is right. Like the roomy dream that I had was all about like out. Now the phrase, the whole quote, like out beyond this is the journey of beyond right and wrongdoing, right?
Yeah.
Right. I keep saying right, right. I'm so conditioned to go right, right. Like agree with me. God, I don't even care anymore if you agree with me. Like it just feels so good to be in the spirit of don't quit. Tomorrow needs you. And also take a moment to pause and let something else come into existence to find you. Like we didn't know that Tantra would be here with us to help us with the board. We talked about that, you know, that would perhaps be helpful. I think as creation reflects upon itself and we reflect upon it,
Yeah.
it shows up.
And so much
It's,
of what you're
you know,
saying is being informed by, we just kind of say informed by the field, informed by creation, but this is having me stop or slow down and really examine that of being informed, like my intuition that I should get a new computer. Now, does that mean before something really bad happens and I'm in deep doo-doo? Does that mean just look? Does that mean figure out how to have more a different tech support? Or is it literal, get a new computer or all of the above? But to let myself be informed and explore that, not just shove it away, which I've done. I've shoved that intuition away because of different factors. And sitting here talking to you, I think I better not. But then back to you saying, right, I hear that as, I don't hear that as agree with me. I hear that as, did you connect with what I said? That's how I hear it. It never dawned on me what you said. I hear, did you connect with what I said? Did it connect with you? And
maybe that's all right and wrong are. Like maybe it's like, it's left, right, connect, 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 connect. It does like choose, right? Right? Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. No, it brings up the interesting contrast to clarity conversation that I love having at times with the duality of where, our human existence, the sorting and the sifting and the like, okay, I got this hit about my computer. Like how much should I play into that? How much clarity? And just being in that flow of it, like it occurs to me that, I mean, I put off changing my website. I had to upgrade it recently. I didn't have to do anything, but I wanted to upgrade it to this beautiful, newer version that would allow me to have a lot more flexibility, and there were a lot of good things that could come with it, right? But then the opposite of that was it was going to take me quite a bit of learning and time and some things that I didn't want to lose off the old system, the versions of what I was playing with. And I just needed to listen long enough to know when it was mine to do. But I remember distinctly it was just a few weeks ago where all of a sudden it just became really relevant to me to go in and play in the new design of the website. And it was just very, much more a joy filled experience than anything out of, oh, this has to be, this is like I lost everything, or I didn't have to learn it the hard way. I felt like really good to not have to learn it the hard way.
yeah,
Um, so I think the more that we listen to our sentient intuitions, you bring up that intuition, when we listen to what we're starting to get information about, it's my playground to look at the possibilities of how the new can come into existence. Like what would be a fun way to repurpose something or to move something around or to um, let something go and let something else come in, be it a computer, be it a Jeep, be it a bright new tree in the backyard that suddenly, I mean, just to bring back those metaphors, I think that's where we're finding, for me, that's where I find the articulation a little bit easier actually when I go into a bit of metaphor that is bringing in whatever is like in your world, what's happening and what's in my other. Really, it's all the same. We're looking for the connections. For me, I'm looking for those connections and
yeah,
the where things line up, where I start to see that it's so obvious that it's all right there reflecting upon itself.
yeah. I think that's the place that we're at. Hold on. Because I think I still look at, like I named signs or omens, serendipity, and so, so like Tantra coming on to sign to run the board that's a really good thing from a lot of points of view. Um, and it was a serendipity. Actually, I don't know the difference between serendipity and synchronicity. I should have looked that up. Um,
Or maybe just define it for yourself right now.
well, I'll do that, but no, I don't want to get off track of my
Oh,
point, but I think I'm relating to it like it's still something that happened to me, not that I was part of calling it in. And
did someone write in?
yeah, someone wrote in, woke up from dream time that would seem to others as ordinary, and yet for this self was extraordinary. Imagine me, a non-meat eater, working with owners to reopen a premier steakhouse. So someone had that kind of just exactly what we're talking about. They're sharing their experience with that. And yeah, a non-meat eater working with owners to reopen a premier steakhouse. There's all kinds of fabulous things available right then and there. Just thinking that. Did it didn't even dawn on me for a couple of seconds. Some people might think, "Oh, that's a conflict." No, there's awareness on both sides and uh, preferences for whatever reasons, but the shared capacity could produce something really remarkable. Wow, thank you.
And there it is. I, you know, so there it is. There's the capacity card again.
Oh
And there's,
man.
yeah, I knew it would come up. Yeah, that's the capacity, right? In the dream. So well, maybe what we can't tolerate in this one world is happening, is tolerable, and all the capacity, the codes are coming in. That's another word I think I'd use for the serendipity, like the down regulation, the downflow of codes coming in, the
Yes.
witnessing
Yes,
the flow of,
that's what I'm trying to I keep talking over top of you. Bless your heart. Um,
I'm Italian. We do this all day long.
that's what I'm trying to get at is I think it's that I relate to some of this as if it's something happening to me, not that some aspect of my existence elicited that and some aspect of existence that I would call outside me called something forth in me, and there's a weft and weave resulting in what this person shared, for example.
That's
Or, like for me, a dramatic one, too, actually. On on Monday, a Sunday night, fell, and I cannot explain it. I cannot explain it. Of course, I made something up because the doctors wanted to know, well, how did you fall? And everybody kept asking, how did you fall? And part of me is like, what difference does it make? What difference does it make? But I talked inside their world, but I cannot explain it. And two things happened. One is that it did feel a little bit like being tumbled, like tumblestones. I used to have
yeah,
tumblestones
polished.
when I was a
Yeah.
kid, but something kept me from hitting my head on this rock, for starters, which carries a lot of message. And in thinking through what was that? What was that phenomenon? I could stay in the, well, I'm getting older and I wasn't steady on my feet. The
Mhm.
kind of the old age conversation and things break down. There's a whole yucky, in my world, yucky conversation about how, uh,
Yeah, we've
stuff happens.
demonized getting old.
Yeah. And then I thought, I just don't think so. It does feel like a between worlds phenomenon. And what if I literally was tripping over energies of what, not really what held me back, but like a paradigm of moving from um, how I was. I'm not saying this well. It's like tripping over the conflict between who I am or was and who I'm coming to be. The two worlds. It felt like I tripped over some kind of boundary.
Mhm.
And I've often talked about moving from traumatic stress, which is a whole beingness phenomenon. It's not mental, it's not only physical, regardless of the kind of traumatic stress experienced. And and Tantra, we all talk a lot about transmuting trauma into life force energy, which is a long conversation. But I often talk about it's like you're in a corral, and the symptoms of traumatic stress have a purpose in the moment and for a while, even if they're inconvenient and disruptive. There's a certain purpose. And then after a time, as you restore from that and heal from all that, but then there's always the pull back for your own safety kind of phenomenon. I'm really shorthanding this.
I, I hear it is that you rolled with it. It was an example of how your body rolled with the energy. But there was a go on. Sorry, I
And I
just
was
had
protected.
yeah.
Something was protecting me. Now I got a nice bruise that's going to look like a Monet painting pretty soon. But it could have been so much worse. And that's not the Pollyanna thing. It's like looking at the phenomena. Something protected me even as this happened. And I think
Yeah.
about that. Hold on, man. Like there's ways that we get stuck in definitions of things in this Western culture. We get stuck in definitions of ways of being. Because I want to read this. This really struck me, and this relates to your work too, of stop and flow and enjoy chi. That there's a lot of people in different states, and this just really struck me. I printed this off. This is something Tantra wrote, I think it was yesterday, talking about addiction and
Yeah.
in the spiritual, related to the spiritual levels of what causes addiction at a spiritual level. And to me, that fits in this whole conversation because it's what we might call the darker side, but it still represents the efforts to reach what we know is part of our composition, our makeup. Like these are just ideas that came up. Disconnection from wholeness, spiritual amnesia, energetic imbalance, a search for ecstasy or union. I certainly encountered that with a lot of people that and unresolved trauma, most definitely. And so even things that don't look like creation in strong relationship to us are, they're just somewhat aberrated. And falling wouldn't look like a wonderful communication from creation, but it was.
And look what it's given you access to. It seems like it's opened us up into something, much larger, a much larger conversation about what,
Yeah.
like going with the flow. Literally, like you were like the sentient intelligence of who you are has us, and you didn't
Yeah.
hit your head. And yeah,
And I could have.
the world is shifting under our feet. The world is always shifting under our feet.
Shifting.
Worlds are being created in this conversation, in every conversation, around every table, around every tree, and always have been.
Yeah.
And how much time are we devoting to that reflection upon us?
And what is the reflection? Like to consider, whoa, what is that I was that protected?
Kind of awesome.
What is my contribution? Who am I being regarded as? And what is it to take ownership of that? Or people who are addicted, and there still is a lot of stigma around that, but I've definitely seen, I mean, that was when I worked with people who were restoring from substance abuse, coming out of it or wherever they were on the journey, it was blatantly obvious that that was well, we call it self-medicating now, but it's said in a frou-frou way. Well, if you're self-medicating, then what are you present to? The wholeness, like,
Mhm.
come on, not come on to the people who are addicted, but to the professionals who say they're treating it. Look at what is there and how huge must that be that integration is interrupted or blocked, or that that connection with whatever they're present to, they can't get the kinks out.
We
And
could
it's
have a whole conversation on that, the pure connection, the movement for harm reduction, and to keeping allowing people to be staying here longer, to realize their precious connection and what has them staying here longer in that framework of connection, to get the insights into their potential that is like so needed here, so needed. Again,
yeah,
that just don't quit. Tomorrow needs you,
tomorrow needs
needs
you.
humans, it needs humanity. To phrase, it was Lisa's quote, but it's just haunting, it's daunting, it's the connection.
Yeah. And what is it to build the stamina, physical, mental, spiritual stamina for connection? And that seems to be part of what's remarkable now. Something has built up, the way I see it, in humanity, the world, whatever aspects of existence, so that there's more and more and more of creation informing us responding to us responding to creation to the point where it's so tumbledy, you go fast enough in a movie or something, and can't, the images blur. And something has been building. A lot of people have been, because that was the other thing I wanted. You said you had that dream, and you had the quotes that you've mentioned, or the cards, what's on the cards.
Hmm.
Look
Hmm.
at how many sources for the last several hundred years, I'd say easily from the Renaissance on,
Yeah.
in terms of a certain, and well before that, uh, but in terms of, I don't know what that, in terms of what, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but there's been so much reaching for expression of art and connection and relationship to all that is, that I think we've hit a whole new recursion. And it's like Helen Keller learning water. I don't know how many of you know that story, but that's one of my favorite stories. And it's like, and as soon as she connected water with her memory, because she was like just about 2 when she got ill, and then lost her sight and her hearing. So she remembered water. And as soon as she put together the word with the experience, she just went like lightning, and across her lifespan was able to share this massive amount of intelligence and awareness and everything that she had. It feels like that to me now. We've got like three
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah. It's a great place to end it. I think, we're at the edge where capacity, I think we both are feeling the capacity is there, the engineering potential that you just demoed, and we're at that edge, maybe beyond it. It's exciting. I'm so thankful that we had this time to at least explore this new garden and delightful like
Just get
playground
started.
together.
Woo!
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope people respond on Facebook and add their awareness and phenomena that they're part of, like the person who uh, is working with people to open a premier steakhouse. That's
Yeah.
a
The
really
dreams.
cool thing, and exactly example of what we're pointing to.
Yeah.
So I really hope you all respond and engage in the Facebook page with us, or give us a shout out for a future broadcast. Oh boy.
Really fun. Always
A-
so
Any last words for you, Kristen?
I mean, just thank you. Really, so fun to just try and get at it and have the time together. It's good, really good to be together, and I agree. Let's
I don't
continue
think
the
we're gonna,
conversation.
yeah, I don't think we're gonna get
To be continued.
right. We are getting at it, but I feel like about 4 years old. I feel like such a child, but we are. And there's so many movies and pieces of art and writings and expressions
And
that,
as we come together at CreateAWorld, we bring those back to the table. Like that's what I
right.
love about just keep going. It's such yeah, it's an innocence returning. It's like
Yes.
coming home.
Yes.
That's the
Somebody just shared
archetypes.
that. Innocence returning.
Yeah, love it.
Wow.
So to be continued, to be grown and evolved like a
Yes.
garden of delights is
Yes. Yes.
beautiful.
So thanks to everybody for
Thank
joining
you.
us in creating a world and exploring this one that's open.